We started recording, and we are on to the 25th verse of the Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka. So we will chant that. So if you'll open out your books. Asangas Satchidanandaha Saprabho Dvaitva Varjitaha Asmiti Shabdha Vidhyoyam Samadhissa Vikalpakaha Okay, so we are continuing the discussion on the various types of meditation, and in the last session we talked about what type of meditation. Anybody remembers the name?
Dṛg-Dṛśya-Anuvidha-Savikalpa Samadhi.
Dṛg-Dṛśya-Anuvidha-Savikalpa Samadhi. And what does that mouth-breaking word mean actually? Dṛg-Dṛśya. What does that mean?
Looking inside.
No. Antara means inside, so internal, that is correct. Dṛśya-Anuvidha means
Object associated meditation.
you will have to speak louder. I can't hear you at all. Or you have to bring your mic close to you.
Object associated meditation.
Yes. So it is an object associated meditation. So Anuvidha is together with Dṛśya means the object, and Savikalpaha means with division Samadhi. So it was Antara Dṛśya Anuvidha Savikalpa Samadhi, which means the internal Samadhi, which is accompanied by an object. And this object was what? What was the object? Come on, guys! I told you if you have to, we are in the very technical explanation of meditation. So you have to revise. If you just come from class to class, nothing is going to happen.
Thoughts was your consciousness principle.
No. How can consciousness principle be an object?
Light.
No guesses.
The object is the
Thoughts.
Yes, Vaishnavi, tell me. For some reason, you guys are very low in volume. Okay, now, tell me now.
The object is the vritti, the thought.
Exactly. The object is the thought. So essentially, it meant the internal meditation on thoughts. But because of the fact that there are divisions in the thoughts, what is the Savikalpaha? What is the division? The division is the meditator and the meditated. Both are different. What is the object of meditation is different from the meditator, and therefore Savikalpaha. Okay. So now we are talking about the other type of Samadhi, which is Antara Shabdha Anuvidha Savikalpa Samadhi. It is again internal Samadhi, but it is not Dṛśya Anuvidha. It is not accompanied by thought. It is Shabda Anuvidha. It is accompanied by words. Again, there is a difference because it is Savikalpaha. So, Antara Shabda Anuvidha Savikalpa Samadhi. So, what was the difference between this Samadhi, which we are going to talk about? What is the difference between this and in the earlier one, which we talked about? So, the earlier one, we focus on consciousness as the witness of the thought, right? You, the consciousness, are a witness of the thought. Your mind is a witness of the thought. And therefore, the thought is an object for you, which is used for what purpose? This thought is used for the purpose of focusing on consciousness. Why do you use thought as a object for focusing on consciousness? Because consciousness has no form and the thought has got a form, the vritti has got a form. So it's easier to focus on the thought and thereby be aware of the presence of consciousness. I'll just unmute you all. So I'll request you all that whenever you all answer, please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself afterwards because not disturbance otherwise. So, like you use the hand. When you use the hand and you see the hand, then you are aware of the fact that light is also there because of which you see the hand. Similarly, when you use the thought for focus, whatever the thought is, the presence of the thought alerts you to the presence of consciousness, and that is why it is called Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka Samadhi. And now it is Shabda Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. It is on the words that we're going to talk about. So in the second one, remember, can be done only after a prolonged practice of the first one. The first one is going to be the focus on the thought and being aware of the consciousness because of the presence of the thought. And if you do that sufficiently, if there's sufficient abhyasa, there is sufficient practice, then the mind will have the capacity to focus on the consciousness without being distracted by the vritti, without being distracted by the thought. And once your mind is refined enough to be able to focus on the consciousness, on the Atma, on the Sakshi, without the presence of the thought, then what happens is you can finally shift your attention to the Sakshi itself, to the consciousness itself. What is the difference? Whatever thought I am focusing on in the first meditation, let us say it is Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya is a thought, it's a vritti. It's got form, Om Namah Shivaya. That is the form of that vritti. And therefore my focus is on Om Namah Shivaya. Because I am focusing on the vritti, I am also aware of the presence of the consciousness, of the Sakshi, because of which I can focus. Remember, it is the consciousness that enables me to focus on the thought. And therefore, while my mind is occupied with the form of the thought, with the form of the vritti, with the form of the vritti, which is the nama rupa of the vritti, is being focused on. At the same time, I am aware that it is because of Atma alone, it is because of Sakshi alone that I am able to focus on this vritti. That is the first meditation. After long practice, prolonged practice, there will come a time when you do not need that thought. The thought will be almost involuntary. It will be there, but it will not distract you. And therefore, at that point of time, you need not focus on the nama rupa of the vritti. You need not focus on the characteristics of the vritti. You can shift your attention to the Sakshi, because of which you are able to focus on the vritti. This feature is your Chaitanya. What are the features of Chaitanya? Where will you find? When you say, I am going to focus on vritti, on Atma, what is it that I can focus on? Atma, mind you, is formless. So when I say I am meditating on Atma, what is it that I can meditate upon? There is no question of meditating upon a formless entity, because there is no form at all. So what am I going to meditate upon? So what does it mean when I say that I am going to meditate upon Atma? And this is very important, because when we get to Upanishads, you will find that there are hundreds of words of advice about keeping the mind fixed on Atma. And therefore it is important to understand. Yes, please.
Is it space?
No, it's not space. What do we know about Atman? And from where do we know it?
That we meditate on.
Sorry, Smriti, say again.
The self that we meditate on.
No, self and all, self is another word for Atma. I'm saying, put it in words.
On Shastra Vakya.
On Shastra Vakyam. On the words of the Shastra. And what are the words of Shastram which you can focus upon when you are focusing on the Atma? What is the Shastra Vakyam that you're focusing upon?
Aham Brahmasmi.
You can say Aham Brahmasmi. There are any number of features. You can say Najayate Mriyate. You can say Nitya Shuddha, Asangaha. Every word which you have learnt. So, since most of you are currently only in Bhagavad Gita, at least all of you have finished chapter 2. So, in chapter 2 itself, from the 12th verse to the 24th verse, 25th verse, there are any number of features. Any one of those features is the Shabda over here. When you say Shabda Anuviddaha, you are saying that the words of the Shastram are the accompanying words for this meditation. So what kind of meditation does this make it? In other words, we use another word for this kind of meditation.
Nididhyasana.
It is Nididhyasana. Right. So what we just did was just now before in the beginning of the session was also Shabda Anuvidda Savikalpa Samadhi. Remember here, Savikalpa is important because there is a Vikalpa, there is a differentiation. There is something, you are there and you are focusing on the words. Okay. So generally what we say is that in any one session, you use one or two words, connected words from the Gita or from the Upanishad, from the scripture, and focus on it, trying to completely assimilate what it means in relation to you. So if you are saying na jayate mriyate, atma na jayate mriyate, you have to meditate upon the fact this is na jayate mriyate. So 2 words, 3 words, right? I am not born and I do not die. Once that assimilation in each session is done, then every time that you hear that word anywhere, you will remember the teaching from the scripture. And therefore, Nididhyasanam works, but only after prolonged exposure to Shravanam. And that is why we say Shravanam has to be there consistently, regularly, for a long period of time from a competent teacher. So then only will that thing sink into our heads. So one important thing, in any one session, let us take only one feature, any one word, any couple of words you think, you take, decide beforehand, you take that, understand fully. So each session of meditation is supposed to be focused on any one of these descriptions of the Atma which is given. Sakshi is described in so many ways in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, and that is why when you go to the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, you get so many words on which to focus on. And therefore, a meditation session can be very fruitful. So this is called Antara Shabda Anuvidda Savikalpa Samadhi. In this Samadhi, you do not have thoughts. And therefore, now look at the words. He says Asangaha. Asangaha means no relationship with anything. So mentally become a sannyasi. As I keep saying, when you enter the meditation room, along with your chappals, you leave all the roles which you play. Wife, husband, mother, child, student. Every role that you play, you leave it outside. Why? Because roles always bring associations. And we don't want any association here excepting with Ishvara. And therefore, when you enter your meditation room or corner, asangaha, you have to become. You should be relationship-less. No relationship with anybody. And Satchid Anandaha. Satchid, Sat means what? Pure existence. The existence principle. Chit is pure Chaitanya Rupa, pure consciousness. Anandaha means the Anandaha principle which arises from Anantaha. This is very important to remember that Ananda is essentially a manifestation of the infinite nature, Anantaha nature. And therefore, every time you hear Sat Chit Anandaha, mentally you replace that with Sat Chit Ananta Anandaha. A pure existence, pure consciousness, that is the principles, existence principle, consciousness principle, and the Ananda principle. So, you are that Ananda which is seen as an object, as reflected Ananda in the mind in all experiences which are pleasant. The experience may come and go. The experience is only a trigger for that Ananda. But I, the Ananda principle, am always there. When the principle is triggered by an object, then you experience the Ananda. But you must remember that you, the Ananda, Ananta Ananda, you are not the impermanent, experienced Ananda from any activity. All those are only reflections. Reflections are only experienced temporary pleasures, subject to coming and going. Agama, it comes and it goes. Agama painaha. Agama apainaha. It comes and it goes. Anything which comes and goes can never be my real nature. My real nature is permanent, existing permanently. So Sat, Chit, Ananta Anandaha principle. Then Swa Prabaha. Prabaha means lighted up, evident in this case. Swa Prabaha means self-evident. It requires no effort to experience. Like the light in the hall, it doesn't require another light to reveal it. It is self-illuminating. So, Swaprabha, self-evident, self-illuminating. And then Dvaita Varjitaha. Varjitaha is taken as forbidden, but can be taken as without also. So Dvaita Varjitaha, without Dvaitam, without anything second, which means Advaitam, non-dual. So when I am the Sakshi of the mind, what is the Sakshyam? Sakshyam is the object of the Sakshi. Okay, so like Pramanam and Prameyam, you have Sakshi and Sakshyam. So when you are the Sakshi of the mind, the vritti, the thoughts are the object of the mind. Therefore, the vritti is the Sakshyam. And this can be assimilated only if you remember that Drishyam is there. It is experienced, but it is mithya. So any experience, any object which you experience will definitely be a real experience, but it is mithya. That means I must know and remember constantly what is mithya. And therefore experience is to be understood as not being proof of reality. Right? This is what is very often misunderstood. We always say experience is proof of reality, but it is not. What is the example? What is an example where you can quote an experience and know that it is not real?
Dream.
A dream. The dream
A
world is
dream.
very much experienced. The dream tiger really chases you, but it is not real. And hence, Dvaita Varjitaha means here, Dvaita Varjitaha has to be understood to mean that there is Satyam and there is Mithya, but Aham Satyam, I am Satyam, and Jagan Mithya, the world is Mithya. This is the meaning of Dvaita Varjitaha, without Dvaitam. It means that you have understood the Mithyatvam of the world. You have understood that I am Satyam, everything else is Mithya. So when the world is reduced to Mithya, it no longer holds any fear for us, and therefore I am Mukta Swarupa. I am the nature of being free. And he says, Asmi, I am. What am I? Purna, Asangha, etc. So these are thoughts. Yogic meditation is meant for Chitta Shuddhi. What is yogic meditation? What is the difference between yogic meditation and this Shabda Anuvidya meditation?
Dharana.
No.
Dharana, practice of that.
No, what is the difference?
When you are controlling the mind,
We have object and here we don't have object.
Exactly. Here, in any yogic meditation, you have an object, and here it is accompanied by Vedantic words only. So, yogic meditation is meant for Chitta Shuddhi. Nididhyasanam is meant for what? For assimilation of knowledge. Right? So, this, you must remember that very clearly, that the Shabda Anuvidya meditation is always Nididhyasanam. It is meant for assimilation of the knowledge. The Drishya Anuvidya is a yogic meditation. It is meant for concentration. Okay. Any questions so far? Because the other one is a bit, the next one is 26. It's a bit long. So if you want to do that, it will take some time.
Om sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, this question is not related to this particular verse, but overall for all the for the previous meditations which we did. This is of course not this particular meditation is not related to object related meditation. But before this, when we have a thought, we
Yes.
have many types of thoughts in our mind from a conscious level, and in psychology there are many different kind of words like conscious thoughts, subconscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts. So when I try to relate it to our try to find the words in the shastra for similar situations, I am getting a bit confused. So I till now what I've understood is like vrittis and vasanas, which of course uh, they how to describe it, they lead to a thought, but it can come from a conscious level also and it can come from a subconscious level also. So how to analyze this?
You first tell me what you mean by conscious and subconscious. What is a subconscious thought example? What is a conscious thought example?
Subconscious thought example is like if I see something from a sense perspective, I'm seeing like how we have the example of the clear prism or the crystal. That is, I'm seeing it and I'm having this thought that there's a red color and I'm relating to it, and it's the thought direct perception. So I feel maybe this is a conscious level of thought. And now subconscious level of thought is something which is based out of my memory or a very past old memory that I relate to it. This is what I understood from subconscious thoughts, but I mean I would like to understand from you.
See, from the point of Shastram, I think you have to talk about what is deliberate and what is not deliberate. So, in meditation, for example, that is yogic meditation, the normal meditation, which we call upasana, you will start with deliberate thought. What is a deliberate thought? Whatever is mantra you are chanting is a deliberate thought. Right? Supposing you chant for 15 minutes. How many of you are actually meditators? I don't know. But for those meditators, who chant, who meditate,
Yes.
and
On
for 15
mantras.
minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever, mantras, objects, whatever. Whether it's an object or a mantra, it's a conscious, deliberate thought. You are using your free will, and therefore it is deliberate. When, after say 15, 20 minutes or something, your mind has quietened down, that racing of the mind has stopped. Have you ever reached a stage where deliberate thought has stopped?
Yes, sometimes.
And then what happens? See, there are millions and trillions of thoughts in your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
But subconscious mind is one level below the conscious mind. As long as the conscious mind is busy, the subconscious does not get to surface. And therefore, a normal day-to-day routine, you will find that, you are busy with this and busy with that, and the subconscious is just that. It remains, unrevealed. When this deliberate thought has brought your mind to a state of, some sort of a quietude, then you will find that sometimes very painful, unfavorable thoughts surface, which you were not thinking about. Where did they come from? For example, you will find somebody called you an idiot 15 years ago. You had forgotten, But suddenly you find, oh, that has popped up. Where did it come from? That is the subconscious thought. It came without invitation.
Yes.
So that's subconscious.
That's coming for cleaning your.
That is cleansing. The only way you can clean it is if you refuse to entertain, to nourish it. If you nourish that thought by saying that, okay, he or she called me an idiot and therefore blah, 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 you go on with that nourishment, then it is not going to go away. If you simply look at it and let it go, understand where it came from, refuse to participate in that thought, that is the cleansing process. That is how subconscious thoughts are. Your subconscious is being cleaned up.
Yes. Okay. So, but in our shastras, do we have the mention of subconscious thoughts or unconscious thoughts?
You don't have in so many words, but we do say that it is part of what is part of your nature surfacing, Prakriti. Prakriti born thoughts are subconscious.
The Maya. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other question? All right. In that case, we'll end for the day. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.